Yes.
My question is about if you have a lease that's 70 years, for example, and sorry, you're the freeholder and you've got a 70-year lease. Would you get, if the freeholder would like to serve a notice on the other side to the leaseholder to have an extension? Is that possible?
So if you are the freeholder and you have got leaseholders with 70 years and you would want to do a deal,
Yeah.
you can't serve a notice on them requiring them to extend their leases. So you would contact them and you would explain all the benefits of why they should do it, and then why you're going to do it slightly cheaper because you really need the money now for your tax bill, etc. Or you just got divorced, you've got to pay a load of money to your wife, and therefore you really need to do it for 15,000 rather than 20,000 or something. You'll find that where blocks of flats are sold, and particularly where they're sold at auction, there are specific companies that will buy those up and will then flood the leaseholders with offers like that.
Ground rents.
And they'll offer to give them a lease extension for a certain amount of money, etc., or flexible terms or whatever. There are companies that do that for a living, but a freeholder cannot force a leaseholder to extend.
The other part to the same question is if the leaseholder approaches you to do an extension at any point, and they haven't paid their ground rents, would that be a breach of lease? And in that case, would they then not be able to do a lease extension?
If a leaseholder has breached the term of the lease, so for example not paying ground rent, or knocking a wall down between the kitchen and the lounge so they can have a nice open kitchen diner, and didn't think to tell the landlord, where a landlord finds out that a breach has occurred, then it is important, very stunningly important, for them to commence forfeiture proceedings and repossession proceedings. So they need to immediately instruct a lawyer to go down that road. And everything that they do from that point onwards must indicate that they do not wish that lease to continue. So, if you were to point out to the leaseholder that actually you didn't pay your ground rent, you owe us 3 years ground rent in fact, but we're quite happy to talk about a lease extension, you will have immediately waived the breach, is the legal term, because you knew there was a breach, you talked about the lease carrying on, and therefore in legal terms, that's it, you've blown your chances, you will not be able to repossess. So if you know there's a breach, always be a complete blood-sucking bastard of a landlord and immediately instruct lawyers, there is a breach, this is what it is, serve a notice on them. It's called a Section 146 notice from the Law of Property Act 1925. Okay? Anything you do that waives the breach completely ruins your chances. You will never be able to deal with that breach again. So it's not so important perhaps with ground rent, because you can get that money back. That's not a particular problem. But if it's something serious, like they have knocked down a wall or something, they've altered the flat, or I had one last month where somebody had built an extension on the back of their flat without permission. If it's something serious like that can't be remedied easily, then you do have to take it really seriously and instruct an appropriate lawyer to take repossession proceedings. And my instructions to my staff are, if we have a flat in breach, you do not talk to them, you do not demand anything from them, don't send them a ground rent demand, service charge demand, you don't chase arrears, you don't accept money. If a cheque comes in the post, you send it back. You do nothing that indicates that that lease will continue. And if they do anything that indicates that that lease will continue, I will give them a P45 and show them the door. Because we would get sued.